Hey folks, I'm not trying to make you hungry here, but I'm sitting inside a 2017 Dodge Ram right now. Now, I actually installed this head into this truck, I don't know, it's been 4 or 5 days ago. And this is actually my buddy's truck, and I was provided the head by the supplier to do an install video into this model year Dodge Ram. You know, basically just so folks could have an easy installation experience. But as you can see, this is the video demo on the head. They have a wonderful screen. And let me back out of this, go to the home page. And typically when you turn on the truck, this is what you're going to see, right? So, you know, access to your radio. They also have an apps button. Now, I'm not connected to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto right now. In the video, I demonstrate Apple CarPlay, but my buddy's an Android user, and he said all he needed to do was go to Bluetooth, and as soon as he connected his phone to Bluetooth, Android Auto popped up. So go back to the home screen here. Just, you know, I show some of this in the video, but just a few other things with the apps. Chances are you're not going to use most of this stuff, but you know, you got your settings here, and basically these are your Android settings, and also, oh, I guess that's the bottom. So also your car settings. So if you see something on the screen you don't like when you put it in reverse, the music cuts out, you know, those things are just settings. You can adjust all that stuff. You know, ask questions down in the comments and I'll try to answer them for you. If you're confused on a setting, what else? Your equalizer for your radio. You know, I demonstrate this in the video too, but you know, it's got a wonderful equalizer in it to make it sound the way you want. What else? You know, YouTube. I mean, you can play YouTube while you're driving down the road. I suggest you don't do that. They also have themes. You can set your theme to what you want it to be if you don't like what the default theme is. Anyhow, but let me get into this video here. But basically, I'll show you how to tear the old unit out. I explain the wiring. I would suggest watching that because there's a few things there. If you miss, you'll have a miserable experience. And also then, you know, how to install it and some of the features. So anyhow, very pleased with the radio. Links in the description. Let's get on to the install. So to remove the original stereo, it's very straightforward. There's a couple different dash configurations, and I'll talk about both of them. But the first thing you need to do is just get your trim tool. There's a little piece of rubber under here. Lift that out. And underneath, I've already taken them out. There's just 2 T20 Torx screws. Remove those. Now there's a chance you might have another Torx screw back inside here you'll need to remove also. And if you do have a center console in your truck, you'll probably also want to pop that out. And to pop that out, there's a little tray right here with a few more screws underneath of it. And then in the main cubby hole, there's another rubber mat. Lift that out. You'll find, I believe it's a 7 or 8 millimeter bolt under there, and then that will just pop out. But yeah, once you have that out of the way, these screws out, this should actually just pop right off. And you just gotta start tugging on it. And you might want to get your trim tool in here too. There's just a bunch of pressure clips behind here. Of course, you want to be careful. Don't pull too hard. Okay, as you can see, it's fully released now, and there's just several connectors back and behind here you need to disconnect. And basically, these are all basically just a bunch of thumb tabs. So I'm going to remove these connectors and get right back with you. All right, so all of these lower connectors are released. They are all just your basic, you know, thumb tab. You press it and they slide out, except for this one. This one was behind the gear selector switch. And on the bottom side of it, there's this red tab. Basically, you just have to slide that up, then that'll pop off. So now, I believe these are 7 millimeter bolts. There's 4 of these to take out, so I'm going to get those out and slide the head unit out. Okay, I have those 4 bolts removed. They were 7 mil. You slide your head out. Of course, now here's your radio connectors. Your radio might have slightly different style connectors on it, but the main one is this power connector here, and all you need to do on it is squeeze on this end, and the lever lifts up. And it's kind of a cantilevered thing, and you should just be able to work it out of there. And these connectors, I believe you just pull them straight out, or they have thumb tabs on them. So anyhow, I'll get these out of here and then get right back with you. So these connectors did just have thumb tabs on them, all 3 of them. So, you know, press them, slide them off, and now I'll head into the kitchen here and kind of show you what comes in the box and explain all the cable harnesses. You know, it sounds like a boring part of the video, but it's pretty important to watch because there's some tips and tricks that hopefully will make you have a successful installation. So let's head into the house. Okay, real quick, let me go over what you get with the kit. Now, you get quite a bit here, but don't let that intimidate you. So you get the head, of course, and the head does have a built-in microphone. You get this big RCA cable bundle. Now, this is like a standard bundle for all these Android type kits. And the only thing you need it for on this install is if you do want to install the external microphone, it gets plugged into here. Now, I'm just going to use the internal mic, so I'm actually not going to install that bundle. This is the GPS antenna. Now, most folks are using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto for their mapping functions, but I'm going to install this because the head does have a digital speedometer function and it will make that work. They give you 3 USB cables. Now, the head only has 2 USB inputs or ports, so you can either just plug these 2 in and then route them into your glove box or somewhere, or if you have a factory USB, you can plug this cable into one of them into your radio, one of your legacy radio connectors. This is your FM antenna adapter, so that plugs into the old or your original OEM connector, and this plugs into the back of the head. Now, this is your backup camera input. Now, even if you don't plan to install the backup camera, you still need to install this harness because this has your antennas for your Bluetooth and your Wi-Fi. You always see negative reviews on these type of heads about poor connectivity, and chances are they just didn't install this connector. And you do get the backup camera. They also provide a license plate frame bracket, so that's really nice. You don't have to buy one separate. And this is the cable that runs the camera signal from the front to the back. Now, here's your main power connector. A couple comments on this. This is the CAN bus module, and I would make sure you look here and see who the manufacturer of that module is. You know, they could possibly change over time. Now, one thing I really appreciate about this seller, at least on past installs, that comes pre-configured for the automobile. But I'm sure there will be folks watching this video that bought from other sellers, having CAN bus issues, and you need to know who manufactured your CAN bus module. A couple comments on the rear camera. Now, the truck I'm dealing with does not have a factory installed backup camera. So after I route the camera, this will get plugged into here. But if you are lucky enough to have a factory installed backup camera, all you need to do is plug that into there and you'll be good to go. They give you nice, 2 front wire charts, so you really can't mess anything up here, or if you have questions. Troubleshooting guide, owner's manual, and then over here, this kit actually comes with 2 plates, one for manual environmental controls and one for automatic. So a lot of the other kits just come with one or the other, but this supplier gives you both. So anyhow, let me start getting this thing flipped over here and we'll get right on with the install. So what we need to do is remove this portion right here. Real simple. Flip it over, and then there's 13 screws. Count them around here. So I'm going to take those out and be right back with you. Okay, I'm down to my last screw here. Now this should just drop right out of here. Now the next step in the process is you need to take your environmental control knobs off, and there's just 4 screws here, so let me get to doing that. All right, last screw again. I don't want to bore you watching me take screws out, so you lift this out, and then of course it just gets put back into this panel and put the screws back in. Now, if you have the automatic environmental controls or the knobs, or there's some tricks to get them out. So just go to the product page for this seller, and they have a nice little video on the product page on how to get those out. I can't demonstrate it, of course, because I don't have it on hand. Anyhow, I'm going to get these screws put back in, and then this then just gets reattached to the plate with the screws on the back, and the same goes with the head. So let me do that right now. All right, so the screws are back in, and actually there were 2 left over. There's 2 at the top you don't need. Now, for order of operations, I actually put this in first. Then there's a little bit of finagling. There's a couple joints there you got to work around, and that dropped in and screwed it right in. And the next thing I need to do is I need to pop these retaining clips off of here. And all you need to do is just get a real little small screwdriver under there and pop those off. Just be careful you don't break them. And they snap on to some clips on the back side of the head. So let me do that here for you real quick. All right, as you can see, I have those clips moved over here now. And, you know, I just used some small tools. And basically you just need to, you know, slide something under one side to release the clip on one side, and then kind of lift the other side, and they'll just come right off. Not too hard, just to take some patience. So I'm going to start plugging the actual cable harnesses into here now, and then we'll get this put back into the truck. Okay, so here's the harnesses I'm going to plug in right now. Of course, the rear backup camera, once again, even if you're not installing it, plug it in for the antennas. The FM antenna, and these are the 2 USB cables I'm going to use. This one's for the OEM, and this is, you know, a second one I'll just drop into the glove box. Now this is 6-pin, this is 4-pin. You can't plug them in wrong. And then this here is your, you know, of course, main harness. Now just be careful, there's this little guy hiding here. You need to make sure you plug this one in too, or else your CAN bus will not work. So let me get these plugged in, then I'll be right back with you. All right, so everything's plugged in. Of course, the FM antenna, the rear backup camera, the 2 USBs. This is the CAN interface coming from the main power harness, and the power harness gets plugged in here. So once again, you can't plug this stuff in wrong. All the connectors have a different number of pins. And of course, this is for that big RCA bundle that I'm not going to connect. And yeah, GPS antenna, I typically don't screw this in until I get into the car. You know, I mount the antenna first and attach it here. It's just, I've just found that easier. So let's head out to the truck and get this put in. Okay, before I wire things back up, just let me share a few tips with you. So for the USB, you know, this extra USB port, I found a little opening right here. I think I'm just going to fish it through there and have that available in the glove box. The GPS antenna, as you can see, here's the wire for it. I was able to stick my fingers under here, and it's attached right underneath this piece of plastic. So I think that should work just fine for the functions I'm going to use it for. The backup camera, since this truck does not have a backup camera, as you can see, the length of wire is down here, and I just stuck a stiff wire up through the bottom so I could get a hold of it and then drug it through. And of course, here is the camera output, which will then get plugged into the input on the head. Anyhow, as for, you know, the legacy connectors, I don't think this one gets connected. This, I think, is the satellite input, which I don't think will work, unfortunately. So if you're an XM fan or Sirius, you might not want to install this head. This is the FM antenna. That's the USB, and of course that's the main connector, and of course the bottom ones just connect to where they used to. So anyhow, let me get things wired back up here and we'll get this unit turned on. Okay, all hooked back up. You know, it'd probably be better if you had a buddy for this one, just due to the service loops in the wires. But yeah, it's all hooked back up. You know, I have the USB port going over there. Just before you snap this back in, make sure you don't have these wires in front of your vents. But and also this connector takes a little bit of force. There's a lot of insertion force on it, so just make sure it's going straight in. But you know, I had a little bit of trouble, but in the end I got it. So I'm going to snap this in here and we're going to turn the truck on. Okay, actually I don't have it snapped in place yet. I'm going to make sure things work in case I got to pull things back apart. But let's see what happens on initial key turn. All right, looks like it's booting up. Now, typically these systems, the very initial power on, they might take, I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds to do their initial boot. But following that, as soon as you turn the truck on, they're booted up and ready to go. So this is also a time where I typically do my backup camera test. So I'm going to walk you through that here in a minute. Now, one thing I didn't do per the instructions, this long wire on the other end of it, there's a little skinny wire that you're supposed to, according to the instructions, you're supposed to splice it into one of the harness wires. Now, I'm just hoping, due to the fact that we have a CAN bus interface here, that I don't need to do that, but I'll go through that here in a second. But yeah, let's see what this thing's doing right now. So all right, well, looks like we might need to adjust the temperature controls, but in general, you can tell the CAN interface is working. Are these buttons working? Yep, volume's working. Everything looks to be initially working, so that's very good news. So let me get set up for this camera test, and then I'll be back here in a minute. All right, let me explain this backup test to you real quick. Now, the main reason I always do this is in case you have something wired incorrectly up front, you want to know now until, versus getting the whole thing installed, then you don't know if you have an error in the front or the back. So, this is the camera. So this is the other end of that long wire. I've stripped these two wires. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to the battery and, it's just some alligator clips. I'm going to clip those onto the positive and negative terminals. Then I'm going to come into the truck, start it, put it into reverse and see if I get a reverse image. If my assumption on the CAN bus is correct, then, I guess I'm done. If not, then what that means is I actually have to go in and do that splice. So anyhow, let me get things set up and I'll be back to turn the truck on. All right, I think I have a halfway decent connection under the hood. We'll see here. So now, as you can see, it booted immediately. So it's just that one. Turn that down so I don't get a copyright strike. But yeah, let's put the truck in reverse and see what happens. All right, awesome. So that means, we're looking at the underside of the hood. That's where the camera's at right now. So that means you do not need to do the splice. The CAN bus interface actually takes care of that for you. So, wow, when I turn, it actually the lines move too. So, very, very good stuff. So I'm going to get this thing snapped in. I'm not going to bore you with doing that, but basically just get her snapped back in. Get the screws back in, and then I'm going to mess around with the settings here. See you soon. So before I start diving into the settings on this thing, I wanted to see how easy it was to connect to Bluetooth and CarPlay, and I tried to film that but forgot to hit record. But anyhow, grabbed the wife's phone. Bluetooth, yeah, easy. Just go to Bluetooth menu, like connect any Bluetooth device, and then it asked if I wanted to connect to CarPlay. You have to have CarPlay enabled on your phone or in Android Auto. There's also instructions in the instruction manual on how to do it. But yeah, it's up and running. This is the main reason people get these type of heads, is so they can have CarPlay or Android Auto. So as for the CAN bus controls, all the environmentals are working. I don't know if you can see things changing here, but the interface is working. Now, the only thing that looks a little goofy right now is I just have some very odd temperature numbers. So I'm sure that's just a setting. I'm going to go see if I can get that figured out. I'll also do a quick drive around the block here to just kind of show you how this thing works and some of the features. Hey folks, I'm out for a drive and figured I'd do a quick demo here. So as you can see, the digital speedometer's working. So let me just come to a stop. To get to your radio, you just touch that button. If you hold that button down, it searches all your local frequencies. I can't turn it up or I'll get a copyright strike. And I'm sorry about the sun here. The sun's starting to set. But a lot of folks say these things don't sound very nice, but there's one hell of a equalizer built into it to, make it sound the way you want. I suggest turning hi-fi off. It seems like that hi-fi makes it very ringy. And also there's your fader balance controls. Going back to the home page, if you hit Z-Link, that takes you back to CarPlay. And once again, I think that's the main reason people get these heads. Now I could stream Spotify or whatever radio app I want. So anyhow, yeah, I'd highly recommend, getting one of these heads. This particular seller, this is about the fourth one I've installed in different vehicles. This is actually my buddy's truck, so he's excited to start using this. I have to get the truck back to him tonight, but I'm going to go do some research and figure out what's going on with the temperature settings, and I'll put that solution down in the video's description. So anyhow, if you did like the video, please give it a thumbs up. I try to keep them to the point, to not waste your time, but put enough detail in here that you should have a successful install. Thanks for watching.